There is a silence in the night sky that feels absolute. When you stand outside on a clear, moonless evening, looking up at the scattered diamonds of the Milky Way, the universe appears frozen, a vast and motionless tapestry pinned against the dark. The stars do not seem to move. They hang there, steadfast and serene, watching over us as they have watched over every ancestor who ever raised their eyes in wonder. We feel the ground solid beneath our feet, an anchor of rock and soil that feels like the definition of stillness. We build our homes, our cities, and our lives upon this perceived stability, trusting in the permanence of the earth. But this stillness is the greatest deception of our senses. It is a comforting illusion that hides a reality so frantic, so complex, and so unimaginably fast that if we could truly feel it, if our inner ears were tuned to the cosmic scale rather than the terrestrial one, we might fall to our knees in vertigo. For in this universe, nothing is still. To exist is to move. To be is to orbit. Have you ever truly considered the precarious nature of our position? We are passengers on a rocky vessel, the Earth, which is currently spinning at over 1,000 miles per hour at the equator. This rotation is what gives us the rhythm of day and night, the cycle of waking and sleeping that governs the biology of every living thing, from the smallest bacteria to the blue whales drifting in the deep oceans. Yet this spin is merely the first layer of our journey. While we spin, we also race. We are orbiting our star, the Sun, traveling at an astonishing speed of 67,000 miles per hour. That is 18 miles every single second. In the time it takes you to take a single breath, you have traveled nearly 60 miles through space, across a void you will never visit again. We are falling around a ball of burning gas, held in place by the invisible tether of gravity, a force described by Isaac Newton as a mysterious action at a distance, and by Albert Einstein as the curvature of space-time itself. But the Sun, our great and glorious anchor, is not standing still either. It is not a fixed point in the void, holding us steady while the rest of the universe rushes by. The Sun is a traveller, just like us. If we could pull back the camera of our imagination, zooming out past the orbit of Pluto, past the icy debris of the Kuiper Belt, and into the interstellar medium, we would see our entire solar system as a single streak of light, a tiny comet-like structure racing through the darkness. Our Sun is drifting through the Milky Way galaxy, bobbing up and down through the galactic plane like a horse on a carousel, dragging the Earth and all the planets along with it. We are moving at roughly 500,000 miles per hour relative to the galactic center. It takes us about 230 million years to complete one full orbit around the galaxy, a period of time scientists call a cosmic year. The last time Earth was in this specific part of the galaxy, dinosaurs were just beginning to rise. The continents were fused together in the supercontinent Pangaea, and flowers had not yet evolved to bloom. We have journeyed so far, circling a center we cannot see, hidden behind thick curtains of interstellar dust and gas in the constellation of Sagittarius. For centuries, astronomers looked at that dark patch in the sky and wondered what lay at the heart of our great spiral city of stars. What kind of monster could hold the gravity of 400 billion stars in check? What immense anchor keeps the Sun and us from flying off into the intergalactic void? In the last few decades, through the eyes of radio telescopes and the infrared vision of observatories like the one used by the Keck team and the European Southern Observatory, we finally pierced the veil. We watch the stars nearest to the galactic center, stars with names like S2, whipping around an invisible point at speeds that defied comprehension, millions of miles per hour. They were dancing on the edge of an abyss, and by calculating their orbits, we found the ghost in the machine. We found Sagittarius A, a supermassive black hole, 4 million times the mass of our Sun, compressed into a space not much larger than the orbit of Mercury. It is a beast of gravity so profound that it bends light, warps time, and shapes the architecture of our entire galaxy. The realization brings a strange kind of comfort, doesn't it? We like to find the center of things. We like to know that there is a hub, a pivot point, a kingpin around which everything else revolves. It satisfies our need for order. We tell ourselves, the moon orbits the Earth orbits the Sun orbits the supermassive black hole. There we think. We have found the bottom. We have found the anchor. The black hole is the heavy heart of the galaxy, the immovable object that sits on the throne of gravity, holding the spinning disk of the Milky Way together. It feels final. It feels like an answer. But the universe is not fond of final answers, and it rarely tolerates immovable objects. The question that whispers to us in the quiet of the night, the question that disrupts this neat hierarchy of circles within circles, is this. If the black hole is the master of the galaxy, does the master itself kneel to a greater power? If everything we know, everything we are, is orbiting this terrifying singularity, then what does the black hole orbit? It seems impossible that something so massive could be moved. Sagittarius A sits at the gravitational well of our galaxy, a point of infinite density. But in the physics of the cosmos, mass does not grant immunity to motion. In fact, gravity is a mutual conversation. Just as the Earth pulls on the moon pulls back on the Earth, raising our tides and slowing our day. Just as the Sun grips the planets tug gently on the Sun, causing it to wobble in space. Gravity is never a one-way street. It is an infinite web of connections where everything touches everything else. And so, even a supermassive black hole with all its dark majesty is not exempt from the dance. It too is falling. It too is being pulled. But pulled by what? And towards where? To answer this, we must cast our minds out into the terrifying vastness beyond the Milky Way. We must leave the safety of our home galaxy and venture into the intergalactic deep, where the darkness is not just an absence of light, but an ocean of mystery. When we look at our nearest neighbors in the cosmos, we see that the Milky Way is not alone. We are part of a family, a small gathering of galaxies known as the local group. Our most prominent sibling is the Andromeda Galaxy, a spiral giant even larger than our own, currently located about 2.5 million light-years away. For a long time, it was thought that galaxies were island universes, drifting in isolation, expanding away from each other as the universe grew. But gravity is a patient and relentless sculptor. It reaches across the millions of light-years of emptiness to bind these islands together. Andromeda is falling towards us, and we are falling towards it. The Milky Way and Andromeda are locked in a gravitational embrace, rushing towards a collision that will occur in about 4 billion years. This means that our supermassive black hole, Sagittarius A1, is not sitting still at all. It is currently hurtling through the void, dragged by the mutual gravity of the Andromeda Galaxy and its own central black hole. But this local dance is just the beginning of the vertigo. If we zoom out further, leaving the local group behind, we begin to see structures of mind-bending scale. We see the Virgo cluster, a massive swarm of thousands of galaxies, whose collective gravity is so immense that it tugs on our entire local group. We are, in a sense, orbiting the outskirts of this great city of galaxies. And yet, even the Virgo cluster is moving. It is flowing like a droplet of water in a vast cosmic river, pulled by something even larger, something hidden deep in the dust and light of the distant universe. Astronomers in the 1970s and 80s began to notice a strange anomaly in the motion of galaxies. They measured the speed of the Milky Way and its neighbors relative to the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang, and found that we were moving much faster than could be explained by the gravity of visible matter alone. We were rushing towards a specific point in the sky, a region in the constellation of Centaurus and Hydra. Something was out there, something colossal, something with enough gravity to pull a river of 100,000 galaxies across hundreds of millions of light years. They called it the Great Attractor, a name that sounds like it belongs in a myth or a prophecy, yet it is a rigorous scientific reality. The Great Attractor is a gravitational anomaly. Concentration of mass equivalent to tens of thousands of Milky Ways, hidden from our direct view by the zone of avoidance, the dense plane of our own galaxy that blocks our telescopes. For decades it stood as the ultimate answer to our motion. We thought we were falling into the Great Attractor. We thought that was the end of the line, the bottom of the well. But as our telescopes grew more powerful, as we launched observatories like Hubble, and later the James Webb Space Telescope into the silence of space, we realized that even the Great Attractor was not the final destination. It was just another bend in the river. Behind the Great Attractor, dwarfing it in size and power, lies the Shapley supercluster, a monster of gravity that makes the Virgo cluster look like a grain of sand. And beyond that, we have begun to map the universe not as a collection of static objects, but as a web of flowing currents. We are part of the Laniakea supercluster, a name that means immeasurable heaven in Hawaiian. Laniakea is a structure 500 million light-years wide, containing the mass of 100 quadrillion suns. It is a watershed of gravity, where thousands of galaxies, including our own, are streaming along invisible filaments of dark matter, flowing towards a dense gravitational valley. In this vast picture, our supermassive black hole, the anchor of our galaxy, is nothing more than a speck of dust caught in a gale. It is orbiting, drifting, falling, and flowing in a complex choreography that spans the observable universe. The realization is both humbling and terrifying. There is no stillness. There is no fixed center. The black hole orbits the center of mass of the local group. The local group falls toward the Virgo cluster. The Virgo cluster flows toward the Great Attractor. The Great Attractor is swept up in the currents of Laniakea. And Laniakea itself, it is being pulled and stretched by the expansion of the universe and the mysterious force of dark energy. We are nesting dolls of motion, layers upon layers of orbits, each one faster and grander than the last. The coffee in your cup, which seems so still as you hold it, is actually tracing a corkscrew path through the cosmos at millions of miles per hour. You are not just sitting in a room, you are riding a wave of gravity that has been rolling since the dawn of time. This ceaseless motion brings us back to the question of purpose and origin. Why is the universe built this way? Why is there no solid ground? It forces us to confront the nature of reality itself. In our daily lives, we seek stability. We want careers that are secure, relationships that are steady, homes that are permanent. We fear change. We fear the loss of our footing. But the universe tells us a different story. It tells us that stability is not stillness. Stability is balance in motion. A bicycle falls over if it stops. It is only stable when it is moving. The Earth would fall into the Sun if it stopped orbiting. The solar system would collapse if it ceased its journey. The galaxy would tear itself apart or crush itself into a singularity if it did not spin. Motion is the mechanism of survival. It is the breathing of the cosmos. So, when we ask, what does the black hole orbit? We are really asking, where are we going? We are asking for a destination. We want to know where the river ends. But perhaps the river doesn't end. Perhaps the journey is the point. As we drift deeper into this narrative, we must peel back these layers of gravity one by one. We must understand not just the what, but the why. Why does gravity bind us across such impossible distances? What is the invisible scaffolding, the dark matter, that holds these superclusters together? And ultimately, if everything is falling towards something else, is there a center to the universe at all? Or is the universe a web without a spider, a dance without a floor? Tonight, we will not find the final answer, for science is a torch that illuminates only one step at a time. But we will begin the journey. We will follow the thread of gravity from the black hole at our galactic heart, out into the cold, beautiful expanse of the cosmic web. We will look for the great attractor. We will sail the currents of Laniakea. And we will ask the question that haunts every astronomer and every dreamer who has ever looked up. In a universe where everything moves, what is the reference point? Where is home? Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the chair beneath you. It feels solid, doesn't it? But now you know better. You know that you are moving. You can almost feel the hum of the Earth's rotation, the rush of the wind of the solar system, the silent glide of the galaxy. You are an astronaut, whether you like it or not. You are a traveller on the grandest voyage imaginable. And the captain of our ship, the great black hole Sagittarius A.N., is just another passenger looking ahead into the dark, pulled by a call we are only just beginning to hear. Let us open our eyes to the motion. Let us step off the solid ground of our perceptions and learn to float. For the story of the black hole's orbit is the story of us. It is the story of where we came from and where we are going in the infinite dark. Start breathing slowly. Let the anxiety of the day, the need for stillness, drain away. Embrace the speed. Embrace the flow. You are safe in the motion, just as the Earth is safe in its fall around the Sun. The universe has carried us this far, through billions of years of chaotic, beautiful, terrifying movement. It will carry us a little further tonight. As we prepare to leave the safety of our solar system in our minds and look towards the dark center of the Milky Way, remember that even the monsters of the dark are obeying the same laws that keep your feet on the ground. They are not gods. They are matter and energy, caught in the same current as you. Now, let us turn our gaze to that invisible point in Sagittarius. Let us look at the black hole not as a destroyer, but as a celestial partner. It is holding us together, yes, but it is also taking us somewhere. And in the next chapter, we will ask, what exactly is this gravitational ghost? How did we find it? And what does it feel like to stare into the eye of a storm that is 4 million times the mass of our sun? The journey has just begun. The orbit is waiting. Your heart beats in rhythm with a universe that never stops. Listen to it. That is the sound of motion. That is the sound of time. That is the sound of the great silent orbit that encompasses everything we know. And as we drift, we wonder, if the black hole is falling, does it know where it will land? Or is the falling all there is? Let's find out. Step into the stream. The water is deep, but the current is gentle. We are moving. We are always moving. And now, as the stars turn overhead, we prepare to look closer at the anchor itself. Before we ask what it orbits, we must understand what it is. Title: The Illusion of the Fixed Point. Part 1 ends. The silence returns, but it is different now. It is not the silence of a painting, but the silence of a glider in the air. A silence full of potential, full of kinetic energy. The black hole awaits. Chapter 2: The Invisible Monarch in the Dark. If you were to look toward the southern sky on a clear summer night, toward the constellation of Sagittarius, you would be looking into the thickest part of the Milky Way. To the naked eye, it appears as a cloudy, luminous band, a river of steam poured across the darkness. It is beautiful, silent, and seemingly tranquil. But this tranquility is a mask. You are looking toward the frantic, crowded, and violent downtown of our galactic city, a place where the stars do not drift in lonely isolation as our sun does, but swarm like bees around a hive. There, 26,000 light-years away from where you sit right now, lies the anchor of our existence. It is the reason our solar system does not fly off into the intergalactic void. It is the gravitational hub that orchestrates the motion of over 100 billion stars. And yet, for most of human history, we had no idea it was there. We orbited a ghost. We paid homage to a king we could not see. Tonight, we travel to that center to meet the ruler of the Milky Way and to ask, if this is the monster that holds us, what kind of power could possibly hold the monster? To understand the black hole, we must first understand the silence that hid it. Between us and the galactic center lie vast curtains of interstellar dust, thick clouds of gas that block visible light as effectively as a heavy velvet curtain blocks the sun. For centuries, astronomers pointed their telescopes at Sagittarius and saw only darkness and the scattered light of foreground stars. The center was a mystery, a zone of avoidance where the map of the universe seemed to fade into obscurity. It wasn't until the 20th century when we learned to listen to the sky with radio telescopes and look with infrared eyes that the curtain was pulled back. We discovered that the center was not empty. It was screaming, not with sound, but with energy. A compact radio source, bright and intense, was beaming signals across the cosmos. We called it Sagittarius AS. And as we honed our instruments, peeling back the layers of dust, we saw something that defied all reason. We saw stars, massive blue, short-lived stars, whipping around an invisible point in space at speeds that made our own motion look like a standstill. Imagine a star, S2, which is 15 times the mass of our sun. Our sun takes 230 million years to complete a leisurely lap around the galaxy. S2 completes its orbit around the center in just 16 years. It is moving at nearly 3% of the speed of light, tearing through space at 11 million miles per hour. What could possibly swing a star that heavy, that fast, without letting go? The laws of physics written by Kepler and Newton and refined by Einstein gave us only one answer. To hold on to S2, the object at the centre had to be small, small enough to fit inside the orbit of Mercury, but it had to weigh as much as 4 million suns. There is only one object in the known universe that fits that description. A supermassive black hole. A tear in the fabric of space-time. A place where gravity becomes so intense that not even light can escape its grip. This is what we orbit. We are all, in a sense, satellites of a singularity. The idea of orbiting a black hole often conjures images of doom, a cosmic drain circling a dark abyss, waiting to be swallowed. But the reality is far more elegant and, perhaps, far more eerie. Sagittarius A is not a vacuum cleaner. It does not suck matter in indiscriminately. It is simply a place where the curvature of space is extreme. If you were to replace our sun with a black hole of the same mass, Earth would not get sucked in. We would continue to orbit just as we do now, only in eternal darkness. The danger lies only in the approach. And we are safe, adrift in the quiet suburbs of the galaxy, 26,000 light-years from the edge of the event horizon. From this distance, the black hole is not a destroyer, it is a stabilizer. It is the gravitational pin that keeps the spiral arms of the Milky Way from unraveling. It is the invisible sun around which our entire galaxy turns, a dark star that shines not with light, but with gravity. But let us drift closer in our imagination. Let us go where the silence breaks. If we were to hover near Sagittarius A, we would see a spectacle of physics pushed to its breaking point. We would see a swirling disk of superheated gas, an accretion disk glowing with X-rays and ultraviolet light as it spirals inward, friction heating it to millions of degrees before it crosses the point of no return. We would see the shadow of the black hole, the silhouette of the event horizon, a perfect sphere of absolute darkness framed by a halo of bent light. As the Event Horizon Telescope revealed to us in its historic images, this ring of light is not just matter, it is light itself, trapped in a carousel, forced to orbit the black hole before finally escaping to our telescopes. It is a place where up and down lose their meaning, where space flows like a waterfall, dragging everything with it. This dragging is literal. As we explored in previous stories, rotating objects twist space-time. Sagittarius Aeos is spinning. It is not a static point, it is a pirouette of infinite density. As it spins, it drags the very fabric of the universe around with it, creating a region called the ergosphere. If you were to enter this region, you would be forced to rotate with the black hole. You could not stand still, no matter how much energy you used. Space itself is moving faster than light here, and you are just a passenger in the current. This phenomenon, known as frame dragging, is the universe's way of saying that motion is contagious. The spin of the black hole dictates the geometry of the space around it, just as a spinning stone dictates the ripples in a pond. And because gravity communicates over infinite distances, a whisper of that spin, a faint echo of that distortion, reaches out to the farthest stars. We are connected to that dark, spinning heart by invisible threads of gravity that have held firm for 13 billion years. There is a profound humility in realizing that our entire solar system, the Sun, the Earth, Jupiter, all the moons and asteroids, is merely a small entourage circling this invisible monarch. We are like courtiers in a vast palace, moving in slow, ceremonial circles around a throne we can barely see. And yet, the monarch is sleeping. Sagittarius A is currently a quiet black hole. It is not feasting on vast amounts of matter like the quasars we see in the distant universe, which shine brighter than entire galaxies. Our black hole is on a starvation diet, catching only wisps of gas and the occasional wayward asteroid. It sits there silent and heavy, a dormant volcano in the center of the city. This silence is what allowed life to flourish on Earth. If Sagittarius A were active, blasting deadly jets of radiation into the galaxy, our atmosphere might have been stripped away long ago. We exist because our monster is asleep. We exist because the anchor holds us gently. But here lies the paradox that drives our story forward. We have found the center of the Milky Way. We have weighed it. We have photographed its shadow. We have mapped the orbits of the stars that dance dangerously close to its edge. We feel that we have found the bottom of the well. We want to say, this is it. This is the fixed point. But physics is a relentless questioner. It reminds us that Sagittarius A, for all its 4 million solar masses, is tiny compared to the galaxy itself. The Milky Way weighs as much as 1.5 trillion suns. The black hole is a speck of dust in the center of a cathedral. It anchors the center, yes, but it does not control the outer rim alone. It is aided by the vast, invisible halo of dark matter that surrounds us, the scaffolding we discussed in earlier chapters. And more importantly, the black hole itself is not immune to gravity. It is an object with mass. And like any object with mass, it must respond to the pull of other masses. So, the question returns with greater force. If the Earth orbits the Sun and the Sun orbits the black hole, does the black hole orbit something else? Is Sagittarius A sitting stationary in the void, or is it too a traveller? The answer, as we hinted, is yes. The black hole is falling. It is racing. The entire Milky Way galaxy is moving at 1.3 million miles per hour. Think of that speed. In the time it took you to read this paragraph, our entire galaxy, black hole and all, has moved thousands of miles. We are not just spinning, we are flying. But flying where? And pulled by what? To see what pulls a black hole, you need a map larger than a galaxy. You need to look at the architecture of the universe itself. We are leaving the realm of astronomy and entering the realm of cosmology. We are stepping out of the city and looking at the continent. Our galaxy is part of a cluster. The cluster is part of a supercluster. The supercluster is a node in a filament of the cosmic web. In this web, gravity flows like a river, and galaxies are merely leaves carried by the current. The black hole at our center is being tugged by the Andromeda galaxy, our nearest giant neighbor. It is being pulled by the Virgo cluster. It is being seduced by the Great Attractor. It is surfing the waves of the Laniakea supercluster. There is no fixed hook in the sky. There is no nail on which the universe hangs. There is only the endless, breathless fall. Sagittarius A is falling toward Andromeda. Together they are falling toward Virgo. Virgo is falling toward the Great Attractor. And all of them are being carried by the expansion of space. It is a hierarchy of falling, a cascade of motion that has no known bottom. When you look at the black hole, you are not looking at the end of the line. You are looking at another passenger. A very heavy, very dark, very powerful passenger, but a passenger nonetheless. It is trapped in the same cosmic river as you are. It is subject to the same laws. It is drifting through the same dark ocean. This realization changes the way we feel about the night sky. It makes the universe feel fluid, dynamic, almost biological. We are not a clockwork mechanism of fixed gears. We are a school of fish, a flock of birds, moving together in a complex, shifting harmony. The black hole is our local leader, our gravitational shepherd, keeping the flock together as we migrate through the void. It holds us close so we do not get lost in the empty spaces between galaxies. It binds us to our billions of stellar siblings. It ensures that as the Milky Way hurtles toward its mysterious destiny, we all go together. We are safe in its grip, even as it falls. So tonight, as you lay your head down, think of that invisible point in Sagittarius. Think of the star S2 whipping around it at 11 million miles per hour, tracing the shape of gravity in the dark. Think of the 4 million suns crushed into a singularity, sleeping in the silence. And then feel the motion, feel the slide. We are moving towards something vast, something ancient, something that calls to the black holes themselves. We are on a journey that will take billions of years, a journey that began before the Earth was born and will continue long after the sun has died. The black hole is not the destination, it is the engine of our vessel, and the vessel is sailing into the deep. But if the black hole is moving, and the galaxy is moving, and the clusters are moving, is there anything that isn't? Is there a frame of reference that stands still? Or is motion the only absolute truth? As we prepare to leave the Milky Way in our minds and venture into the intergalactic space in the next chapter, we will confront the scale of these attractors. We will ask what lies in the constellation of Centaurus that is strong enough to eat galaxies. We will ask what the dipole repeller is, the opposite of an attractor, a void that seems to push us away. We are entering the domain of the giants. The map is about to get much, much bigger, and the silence is about to get much deeper. Take a slow breath. You are anchored to the earth. The earth is anchored to the sun. The sun is anchored to the black hole, and the black hole is falling through the stars. You are held. You are moving. You are part of the great turning mystery. And for now, that is enough. The night sky is not a painting. It is a window into the infinite fall, and we are falling together. The black hole waits. The Andromeda galaxy approaches. The great attractor beckons. And the story of our orbit continues to expand, outward and upward, into the terrifying beauty of the superclusters. Chapter 3. The Waltz of the Giants. If you have ever stood on a dark hillside in late autumn, looking just above the constellation of Andromeda, you may have seen a faint, fuzzy smudge of light. It is barely a whisper against the black, a ghostly thumbprint that seems insignificant compared to the brilliant jewels of Sirius or Orion. But that faint smudge is the most terrifying and beautiful object in our sky. It is M31, the Andromeda galaxy. It is an island of 1 trillion stars, a spiral city even grander than our own Milky Way, floating 2.5 million light-years across the abyss. When you look at it, you are looking back in time to when the first humans were just beginning to walk upright on the plains of Africa. That light has traveled across the deepest silence imaginable to reach your retina. And while it looks frozen, pinned like a specimen in a glass case, it is actually rushing toward us with the momentum of a falling hammer. The black hole at the center of our galaxy, Sagittarius A-Oz, is not just drifting. It is locked in a gravitational stare-down with the supermassive black hole at the heart of Andromeda. We are not alone in the dark. We are dancing. For a long time, humanity believed that our galaxy was the universe, that the Milky Way was the sum total of existence, surrounded by an infinite, empty void. It wasn't until the 1920s that Edwin Hubble, using the Great Telescope at Mount Wilson, realized that these nebulae were actually other galaxies, island universes separated by distances that the human mind struggles to comprehend. But soon after this discovery came another, even more startling realization. The universe is expanding. Most galaxies are rushing away from us, carried by the stretching fabric of space, their light shifting toward the red end of the spectrum as they flee into the future. The cosmos, it seemed, was a lonely place, a scattering of islands drifting further and further apart. But gravity is a stubborn force. It is the refusal of matter to be alone. While the distant universe expands, the space between us and Andromeda is shrinking. We are gravitationally bound, a pair of cosmic dancers holding hands across the void, pulling each other closer with every passing second. The numbers are staggering. Andromeda is falling toward the Milky Way at roughly 110 kilometers per second, about 250,000 miles per hour. At this speed, you could travel from the Earth to the Moon in less than an hour. Yet the distance between us is so vast that this headlong rush appears as perfect stillness to our eyes. It is a collision playing out in slow motion, a catastrophe, or perhaps a union that will unfold over the next 4 to 5 billion years. NASA and ESA astronomers using the Hubble Space Telescope to measure the tiny sideways motion of Andromeda's stars have confirmed this destiny with high precision. There is no missing it. We are on a collision course. The black hole we orbit is not just circling the drain of the galaxy, it is piloting the entire Milky Way toward a rendezvous that will rewrite the night sky. Imagine for a moment that you are an immortal observer, watching this waltz from the surface of Earth over the next few eons. For millions of years, nothing seems to change. Andromeda grows slightly brighter, slightly larger, slowly resolving from a smudge into a defined spiral. But as the billions of years tick by, it begins to dominate the heavens. It swells until it is no longer a faint patch, but a glowing eye staring down at us, rivaling the full moon in brightness. Its spiral arms, laced with dust lanes and billions of blue stars, begin to span the horizon. The night becomes twice as bright. The Milky Way's band of light is crossed by the intruder's band, forming a great X in the sky. And then the first pass begins. When galaxies collide, they do not crash like cars, they are mostly empty space. The distance between stars is so immense that even when 2 trillion stars pass through each other, the odds of 2 stars physically hitting are vanishingly small. It is a collision of ghosts. But the gravity is real. As Andromeda swings past us, tidal forces will tear the majestic spiral arms of both galaxies into wild, chaotic streamers. Trails of stars will be flung out into the intergalactic darkness like ribbons caught in a fan. The serene order of our galaxy will be shattered. Our solar system, if it still exists, will likely be tossed into a new orbit, perhaps flung further out into the halo, far from the chaotic center. And through it all, the 2 supermassive black holes, our Sagittarius A Mart and Andromeda's P2, will begin a deadly spiral of their own. They will sink toward the center of the new, combined mass. Friction with gas and stars will rob them of their orbital energy, drawing them closer and closer. For millions of years, they will orbit each other as a binary pair, two monsters waltzing in the dark, churning up the surrounding gas and lighting up the nucleus of the new galaxy as quasars. They will ripple the fabric of space-time with gravitational waves so powerful they would dwarf the energy of all the stars combined. And finally, they will merge. The two singularities will become one. The two galaxies will lose their individual identities. The spirals will be gone, their delicate structures erased by the violence of the mix. In their place will stand a single, massive elliptical galaxy, a giant ball of old red stars, a motionless fog of light. Astronomers have already named this future child of our collision Milkomeda. This is the fate of our orbit. We are not just circling a black hole, we are circling a future merger. We are ingredients in a recipe that has not yet finished cooking. It reminds us that home is a temporary concept. The Milky Way is not a permanent structure. It is a fluid event, a cloud of possibility that is currently changing shape. And we, the observers, are merely witnessing one brief, stable frame in a long, chaotic movie. But this local dance, this binary relationship between us and Andromeda, is only the first layer of the true scale of our motion. Because Milkomeda, as vast as it will be, is not alone either. The Milky Way and Andromeda are the two largest members of what we call the local group. This is our cosmic neighborhood, a collection of 54 or more galaxies, mostly dwarfs, that are bound together by gravity. There is the Triangulum galaxy, the third largest spiral, which may eventually join the merger or orbit the wreckage of Milkomeda as a satellite. There are the Magellanic Clouds, our faithful companions, which are slowly being digested by the Milky Way even now. This entire group, spanning about 10 million light-years, is a single gravitational family. We move together. We share a common fate. Against the expansion of the universe, which tries to push everything apart, the local group holds the line. Gravity here is stronger than the expansion. We are an island of stability in a sea of stretching space. But if the local group is a family, does the family live in a town? If the black hole orbits the center of the galaxy, and the galaxy orbits the center of mass of the local group, where is the local group going? This brings us to a profound realization. Even a group of 50 galaxies is a speck of dust in the wind. We are not floating aimlessly. We are being pulled. If we map the velocities of all the galaxies in our neighborhood, subtracting the expansion of the universe, we see a flow. We are moving at 600 kilometers per second over 1.3 million miles per hour toward a region of the sky in the constellations of Virgo and Leo. We are falling towards something so massive that its gravity reaches across 50 million light-years to grab us. We are falling toward the Virgo cluster. The Virgo cluster is not a gentle family like our local group. It is a metropolis. It is a swarm of nearly 2,000 galaxies, a dense, chaotic ball of gravity that sits at the heart of our local universe. To look at the Virgo cluster through a telescope is to see galaxies not as rare jewels, but as swarms of bees. Giant elliptical galaxies like M87 sit at its center, monsters that have devoured hundreds of smaller galaxies over the eons. M87's black hole is one of the largest ever measured, 6.5 billion times the mass of our Sun, 1,000 times more massive than our own Sagittarius AO. This cluster is the gravitational downtown of our region. It is the Sun around which our local group is merely a distant planet. So, the hierarchy extends. The Earth orbits the Sun. The Sun orbits Sagittarius A. Sagittarius A orbits the center of the local group. The local group is falling toward the Virgo cluster. It feels like we are finding a pattern. It feels like we are climbing a ladder of size. But the universe is a place of endless horizons, and every time we think we have seen the mountain peak, we realize it is just a foothill. Because as we measure the motion of the Virgo cluster itself, we find that it, too, is moving. The city is not sitting on solid ground. The metropolis is sliding. The Virgo cluster, and our local group along with it, are being swept along a much larger current. We are just a small eddy in a river that spans hundreds of millions of light years. This creates a feeling of vertigo, a sense of being unmoored. We want a bedrock. We want a place where the buck stops. But the cosmos offers us only flow. We are sliding towards something even bigger than Virgo, something hidden behind the dust of our own galaxy, something that astronomers call the Great Attractor. The name itself sounds ominous, like something from a science fiction story, but it is a real gravitational anomaly. It is a concentration of mass equivalent to tens of thousands of galaxies, pulling on everything in our corner of the universe. And yet, for a long time, we couldn't see it. It lay in the zone of avoidance, obscured by the thick band of the Milky Way's own stars and dust. We could only feel its tug, like a ship in a fog, feeling the pull of a distant waterfall. Why does this matter to you, resting there in the quiet of your room? Because it tells you that you are part of a flow. You are not static. The atoms in your body, the carbon in your DNA, the iron in your blood, all of it is kinetic. You are rushing through the universe at speeds that would turn a human body to mist if you hit an obstacle. But because everything around you is moving at the same speed, you feel peace. You feel stillness. It is a beautiful mercy of physics that we cannot feel our own velocity. We are shielded from the violence of our own journey. We are allowed to sleep, to dream, to love, while riding a cannonball through the dark. And there is a poetry in this motion. If we are falling toward Andromeda and eventually toward Virgo, it means the universe is not just scattering into isolation. Despite the dark energy that pushes the far reaches of the cosmos apart, here in our local patch, gravity is bringing things together. It is an embrace. The universe is trying to connect. It is trying to merge. It is trying to form larger and larger structures, weaving galaxies into clusters, clusters into superclusters, superclusters into filaments. We are building something. We are part of a construction project that operates on a timescale of billions of years. We are not lost fragments. We are bricks in a wall that is still being laid. So, tonight, when you close your eyes, imagine the Milky Way not as a fixed disk, but as a frisbee thrown across a field. Imagine Andromeda reaching out with invisible gravitational arms to catch us. Imagine the slow, silent waltz of 2 trillion stars, beginning a dance that will end in a blazing union. You are on that frisbee. You are in that dance. The stillness of your room is a disguise. In reality, you are an intergalactic traveler, swept up in forces that shape the architecture of reality itself. But what lies beyond Virgo? What is the great attractor, really? And is there anything beyond that? Is there a structure so large that it makes the Virgo cluster look like a single atom? The answer, incredibly, is yes. As we peel back the layers of the cosmic onion, we find that even these great clusters are just nodes in a web of unimaginable vastness. We are about to enter the realm of Laniakea. We're about to see the universe not as a collection of objects, but as a living neural network of light and gravity. The black hole at our center is just the first handle we grabbed to understand our place. Now, we must let go of the handle and let the current take us. We must ask, how big does the river get? And does it ever flow into a sea? Take a slow breath. Feel the gravity of Earth holding you. It is the same force that holds the galaxy. It is the same force that pulls Andromeda. It is the same force that binds the cluster. You are connected to the furthest reaches of the sky by this single, silent law. There is no separation. There is only the web. And in the next chapter, we will trace the threads of this web to their source. We will look at the maps drawn by the best astronomers of our time, maps that show the flows of thousands of galaxies like water in a basin. We will learn the shape of our true home, Laniakea, the immeasurable heaven. The waltz continues. The music is slow, deep, and silent, and we are dancing with giants. Chapter 4, The River of Heaven and the Great Attractor. When we look up at the night sky, we see a canopy of stars that feels evenly distributed, a dome of jewels scattered across the dark by a careless hand. But this evenness is an illusion born of our limited perspective. If we could see gravity instead of light, if we could see the invisible topography of the universe, the sky would look very different. It would not be a flat dome, but a rugged landscape of mountains and valleys, of steep cliffs and deep basins. And we, along with our sun, our black hole and our entire galaxy, are sliding down the side of one of these invisible mountains, tumbling toward a valley so deep and so dark that for decades we didn't even know it was there. We simply felt the speed. We felt the rush. We knew through the mathematics of our motion that something massive was pulling us. But when we looked in the direction of the pull, we saw nothing but the dense, blinding dust of our own Milky Way. Astronomers call this region the zone of avoidance. It is a band of the sky obscured by the galactic plane, where the sheer number of stars and clouds of interstellar gas block our view of the universe beyond. It is the blind spot of our cosmic windshield. For most of the 20th century, it was a source of immense frustration. We knew the Milky Way was moving at over 1 million miles per hour toward the constellations of Hydra and Centaurus. We knew the local group was being dragged along. We knew the Virgo cluster was caught in the same current. But the cause, the great attractor, lay hidden behind the curtain. It was a phantom gravity, a ghost in the machine of the cosmos, tugging on millions of galaxies without ever showing its face. It wasn't until we developed radio telescopes capable of piercing the dust, and later X-ray observatories that could spot the glow of superheated gas in distant clusters, that we began to map the monster in the dark. What we found was not a single object. The Great Attractor is not a super black hole or a megastar. It is a gravitational anomaly of terrifying scale, a concentration of mass, equivalent to tens of thousands of Milky Ways. It is a focal point where wall upon wall of galaxies intersect, a knot in the cosmic web where gravity has gathered enough matter to bend the flow of the universe itself. But here is the twist that makes the story even stranger. The Great Attractor is not the bottom of the basin. It is just a steep slope. In 2014, a team of astronomers led by R. Brent Tully at the University of Hawaii redefined our place in the universe. They stopped looking at where galaxies were and started looking at where they were going. They mapped the peculiar velocities, the actual motion minus the expansion of the universe, of 8,000 galaxies. What they found was a pattern that looked less like a map of islands and more like a map of a watershed. On Earth, rain that falls on one side of a mountain range flows into the Pacific, while rain on the other side flows into the Atlantic. These regions are called watersheds or basins. Tully and his team realized that the universe is organized in the exact same way. Galaxies flow like water. They trickle out of cosmic voids, gather into streams of filaments, pool into clusters, and eventually rush toward massive gravitational valleys. By tracing these flows, they discovered that our Milky Way, the Andromeda Galaxy, the Virgo cluster, and the Great Attractor itself are all part of a single, colossal structure. They named it Laniakea. In the Hawaiian language, it means immeasurable heaven, and it is a name that fits. Laniakea is a supercluster of galaxies spanning 520 million light-years. It contains the mass of 100 quadrillion suns. It encompasses 100,000 galaxies, all interconnected by the invisible flow of gravity. In this vast map, the Milky Way is just a speck of light on the fringe of the system, a droplet of water near the top of the mountain, beginning its long journey down into the valley. This realization fundamentally changes the answer to our question: what does the black hole orbit? It is not just orbiting a center of mass. It is flowing within a biological structure. Laniakea looks startlingly like a neural network, or the root system of a tree, or the circulatory system of a living body. The filaments of galaxies are the veins carrying the lifeblood of matter towards the heart. And we are inside one of those veins. We are not static. We are part of a metabolism. The black hole at the center of our galaxy is a cell in this greater organism, moving in harmony with millions of others. But a flow needs two things: a pull and a push. Gravity pulls us toward the dense regions, but what happens in the empty spaces? This is where the story reveals its most ghostly character yet: the dipole repeller. As astronomers mapped the flow of Laniakea, they noticed that we weren't just falling towards Liu, the Great Attractor. We were also rushing away from a vast region of emptiness on the opposite side of the sky. This region is a cosmic void, a space profoundly empty of galaxies, stars, and dark matter. Because it is so empty, it has very little gravity. The regions around it, which are denser, pull on us with normal strength, but the void pulls with almost nothing. The result is an illusion of repulsion. It is as if the void is pushing us away, shoving our galaxy across the universe. We are caught in a cosmic tug-of-war. Behind us lies the dipole repeller, a cold, empty expanse that offers no hold. Ahead of us lies the Great Attractor and the dense heart of Laniakea, beckoning with the promise of gravity. The Milky Way is racing between them, fleeing the emptiness and seeking the crowd. It is a dynamic that mirrors the human experience, the drive to escape isolation and find connection. Even on the scale of hundreds of millions of light years, the universe seems to abhor loneliness. It pushes matter out of the voids and gathers it into the embrace of the filaments. To be in Laniakea is to be part of something too big to comprehend, yet intimate enough to feel. Every star you see, every galaxy you can point to with a backyard telescope, is part of the same family. We are all sliding down the same gravitational hill. The fixed stars are not fixed. The solid Earth is not solid. We are fluid. we are falling. The black hole Sagittarius A, with its 4 million solar masses, is just a leaf on this river. It obeys the current. It cannot fight the flow of 100 quadrillion suns. And yet, Laniakea is not the end. The immeasurable heaven is vast, but it is finite. As our telescopes peer even deeper, beyond the edges of our supercluster, we see other monsters. We see the Perseus Pisces supercluster, a wall of galaxies stretching for hundreds of millions of light years. We see the Shapley supercluster, a concentration of mass so dense that it tugs even on Laniakea itself. We realize that our immeasurable heaven is just one basin in a landscape of basins, one watershed on a continent of gravity that spans the entire observable universe. It leads us to wonder, is there an ocean? Is there a final drain where all these rivers meet? Or does the universe go on forever? A fractal pattern of flows within flows, with no bottom and no top. The structure of the cosmic web, the grandest pattern in nature, suggests the latter. It is a sponge-like lattice of filaments and voids, stretching to the edge of time itself. To look at it is to see the scaffolding of creation. But for us, here on our tiny rocky planet, orbiting a yellow star, orbiting a quiet black hole, drifting in the suburbs of Laniakea, there is a special kind of peace in this knowledge. We are not lost. We are located. We have an address. Address: Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Local Group, Virgo Supercluster, Laniakea. We belong to a system. We are part of a flow that has been running for 13.8 billion years. The gravity that holds your feet to the floor is the same gravity that binds Laniakea together. It is a single, unbroken thread. So when the night feels overwhelming, when the silence of the stars feels too cold, remember the river. Remember that you are moving. You are part of a grand migration toward a meeting place that lies billions of years in the future. The black hole is your captain, the galaxy is your ship, and Laniakea is the sea. And we are sailing. But what happens when the river widens? What happens when the distances become so great that even gravity cannot bridge them? In the far future, the expansion of the universe, dark energy, will begin to win the war. The spaces between the superclusters will stretch faster than the galaxies can fall. Laniakea may be the largest structure we will ever belong to, for the structures beyond it are receding from us faster than we can reach them. We are living in a golden age of cosmology, a time when we can still see our neighbours, when we can still map the river. In the next chapter, we will confront this dark horizon. We will look at the force that opposes gravity, the silent killer of orbits, dark energy. We will ask, if everything orbits a black hole, and the black hole orbits the heart of Laniakea, will Laniakea eventually be torn apart? Is the destiny of the universe a great gathering or a great scattering? The waltz of the giants is slowing down. The music is stretching. And the final question of our orbit is not, where are we going, but will we ever arrive? Take a deep breath, feel the current. The great attractor is calling, the dipole repeller is pushing, and you, suspended in the balance, are exactly where you are meant to be, drifting in the immeasurable heaven. The river flows on, and so do we. Chapter 5. The Silent Breath of the Void. There is a war being fought in the silence of the night sky. It is a war without soldiers, without noise, and without violence, yet it will determine the ultimate fate of every star, every planet, and every atom in existence. It is a battle between two titanic forces. invisible and relentless, locked in a struggle for the geometry of the universe. On one side, there is gravity, the force we have been following on this journey. Gravity is the gatherer. It is the cosmic embrace. It wants to pull everything together, to bind the moon to the earth to the sun to the black hole, and the black hole to the heart of Laniakea. Gravity wants unity. It wants to build a single, magnificent structure out of the chaos of the Big Bang. If gravity were the only force, the story of the universe would be one of an eventual, peaceful reunion, where all matter returns to a great cosmic meeting place. But gravity is not alone. In the deepest, darkest gaps between the galaxies, in the voids where there is nothing but empty space, another force is waking up. It is pushing back. It is stretching the silence. It is tearing the map apart. We call it dark energy. For most of human history, and indeed for most of the history of astronomy, we assumed that gravity was the undisputed master of the cosmos. When Edwin Hubble first discovered in the 1920s that the universe was expanding, that galaxies were rushing away from each other, physicists assumed this expansion was a leftover impulse from the Big Bang, a momentum that would eventually fade. The logic was simple. Gravity pulls. Therefore, over billions of years, the mutual gravity of all the galaxies should act as a brake, slowing down the expansion of the universe. We thought the cosmos was like a ball thrown into the air. It goes up, it slows down, and eventually it either stops or falls back down. We spent decades trying to measure this deceleration. We wanted to know if the universe would eventually stop expanding and crunch back together in a big crunch, a reversal of creation. But in 1998, two teams of astronomers, the Supernova Cosmology Project and the High Z Supernova Search Team, looked deep into the past to measure this slowing down. They used Type Ia supernova, the explosions of dying white dwarf stars, as standard candles to measure distances across the vastness of space. By comparing how bright these explosions looked to how fast they were moving away, they hoped to see the signature of gravity's breaking power. What they found shocked the scientific world and earned them the Nobel Prize. The expansion was not slowing down, it wasn't even steady. It was speeding up. The ball thrown into the air wasn't falling back. It had strapped on a rocket engine and was flying away faster and faster. The universe was accelerating. This discovery changed everything. It meant that empty space is not empty. It is filled with an energy that acts as a kind of anti-gravity. But unlike gravity, which gets weaker as things get farther apart, this energy is a property of space itself. The more space there is, the more of this energy exists. As the universe expands, it creates more space, which creates more dark energy, which causes the universe to expand even faster. It is a runaway feedback loop of isolation. NASA's WMAP and Planck missions later confirmed the terrifying scale of this force. We now know that dark energy makes up roughly 68% of the total energy budget of the universe. Dark matter makes up about 27%. The rest, everything we can see, every star, every galaxy, every gas cloud, you, me, the Earth, is less than 5%. We are the foam on top of a deep, dark, expanding ocean. So what does this mean for our black hole and its orbit? It introduces a profound tension to our journey. We are falling toward the great attractor, yes. Gravity is winning the local battle. The bond between the Milky Way and Andromeda is strong enough to resist the expansion. The bond of the local group is tight enough to hold. Even Laniakea, our massive supercluster, might hold together for a long time. But beyond the edges of these structures, the river is widening faster than we can swim. The galaxies outside of Laniakea are being pushed away from us. The voids are growing. The universe is being stretched thin. Imagine a runner on a treadmill that is slowly speeding up. For now, the runner, gravity, is strong enough to keep pace or even move forward. But the treadmill, dark energy, has infinite stamina. Eventually, the speed of the track will overcome the runner. In the distant future, billions of years from now, the expansion of space will become so rapid that the light from distant galaxies will no longer be able to reach us. They will slip over the cosmic horizon, a point of no return. They will simply vanish from our sky. The great attractor will be pulled away. The Virgo cluster might begin to fray at the edges. One by one, the neighbors will leave, carried off by the swelling emptiness of space. This leads to a haunting realization about the black hole at the center of our galaxy. Sagittarius AEO is a monarch whose kingdom is destined to become an island. Right now, it is part of a vibrant web, a node in the great flow of Laniakea. But as the eons pass, the web will tear. The filaments will snap. The universe will undergo a great scattering. The Milky Way and Andromeda will have merged into Milkomeda, a single giant elliptical galaxy. But the rest of the universe will have dimmed and drifted away. We will be left alone in a vast, dark, static void. Future astronomers, if they exist on the planets orbiting the red dwarf stars of Milkomeda, will look up and see nothing but their own galaxy. They will see no other galaxies, no cosmic web, no evidence of the Big Bang. They will think they are the entire universe, alone in an infinite dark. We are living in a privileged time. We exist in the brief golden era of the cosmos where the balance between the pull, gravity, and the push, dark energy, allows us to see the structure of everything. We can see the flow. We can see the history. We can map Laniakea. We can measure the orbit of the black hole relative to the great attractor because the expansion hasn't yet erased the road. We are the witnesses of the universe's most beautiful and complex epoch. But this tension between gravity and expansion also adds a layer of vertigo to our question. What does the black hole orbit? It orbits a moving target. It orbits a structure, Laniakea, that is itself being stretched. It is like trying to map the currents of a river while the riverbed itself is expanding. The ground beneath us is not stable. It is inflating. The dipole repeller we discussed, the void pushing us away, is really a manifestation of this dark energy dominance in the empty spaces. The void is expanding, and its expansion pushes the galaxies toward the dense regions, where gravity still holds sway. We are being squeezed between the growing nothingness and the condensing somethingness. And yet, despite this cosmic war, there is a strange peace in the black hole's motion. Inside the galaxy, gravity is absolute. The solar system is safe. The Earth will not be ripped away from the sun by dark energy. The force of the expansion is too weak to overcome the gravity of a solar system, or even a galaxy. The Big Rip, a theoretical end scenario where dark energy tears apart stars and atoms, is considered unlikely by current data. Instead, we face the Big Freeze, a gentle, slow drift into isolation. The black hole will continue to hold the stars of Milkomeda together for trillions of years. It will be the keeper of the flame, the shepherd of the last light, long after the rest of the universe has faded from view. This gives a new meaning to the stillness we feel at night. It is the stillness of a huddle. We are huddling together with our neighbours, Andromeda, Triangulum, the Magellanic Clouds, against the cold wind of the expansion. We are gathering close to the fire of gravity while the rest of the world freezes over. The black hole is the hearth. It is the centre of the huddle, and its orbit around the centre of the local group is a dance of survival, a way of binding the family together before the roads wash out. So when you think of the universe expanding, do not think of it as an explosion that is destroying you. Think of it as a breath. The universe is taking a deep breath, inhaling the darkness, expanding its lungs. We are just tiny particles of dust caught in that breath. And while the chest expands, we hold hands with the particles next to us. We stay close. We keep orbiting. But if the universe is expanding, it implies an origin. If everything is moving apart, then once, long ago, everything must have been together. If we run the film backward, the Great Attractor, Laniakea, the Virgo cluster, the Milky Way, and the black hole all converge. They all fall back toward a single point. And this brings us to the ultimate question of reference. We have asked what the black hole orbits now. But to understand the true nature of its motion, we must ask where the motion came from. We must look back to the moment when the arrow of time was knocked and loosed. We must look at the Big Bang. Is the black hole orbiting the site of the creation? Is there a center of the universe where the explosion started, a point zero around which the entire cosmos rotates? Or is the truth even stranger? Is the center everywhere? In the next chapter, we will dissolve the illusion of a center. We will look at the geometry of the Big Bang and realize that the black hole is not moving through space, but moving with space. We will ask if the universe itself is spinning, a question that keeps cosmologists awake at night. If the whole universe spins, then the black hole's orbit is just a tiny eddy in a whirlpool the size of existence. The war between the pull and the push continues in the silence above your roof. Dark energy is stretching the sky. Gravity is clutching the stars. And you, safe in your bed, are the observer of this magnificent stalemate. Breathe slowly, in, out. Your breath mirrors the cosmos. Expansion, contraction, life. The black hole waits, the horizon recedes, and the mystery deepens as we turn to look not outward at the clusters, but backward at the beginning of time. The story of orbit is also the story of origin. Let us go back to the first spin. Chapter 6. The Memory of the First Turn. We have followed the thread of gravity from the chair you sit on, to the turning earth, to the burning sun, to the sleeping black hole, to the falling local group, and finally into the vast, flowing currents of the Laniakea supercluster. We have climbed the ladder of structure until the rungs became so large that a human life measures less than a heartbeat in their duration. We have seen that everything is falling, everything is flowing, and everything is caught in a tug of war between the gravity that wants to hold us together and the dark energy that wants to tear us apart. But as we drift in the immeasurable heaven, a new and deeper question begins to form in the quiet of our minds. If everything is moving, where did the motion come from? If the black hole is orbiting the center of the galaxy, and the galaxy is flowing down the gravitational slopes of the supercluster, who pushed the first domino? To understand the ultimate orbit, we cannot just look outward across space. We must look backward through time. We must return to the moment when the clock began to tick. We must go back to the Big Bang. When we imagine the Big Bang, our minds instinctively conjure an image of an explosion. We picture a vast, empty black void, silent and cold, and then, suddenly, a spark appears in the center. A tiny, infinitely hot point that detonates, flinging stars and galaxies outward into the pre-existing darkness like shrapnel from a grenade. In this mental image, there is a clear geometry. There is a center where the explosion started, and there is an edge where the debris is flying. If this were true, finding our place in the universe would be simple. We could just track the trajectory of our black hole, trace the path of our galaxy backward, and point a finger into the night sky and say, "There, that is where it happened. That is the center. That is what we are orbiting." It would be the ultimate anchor, the fixed point around which the entire history of the cosmos revolves. But the universe, in its strange and elegant reality, is not an explosion in space. It is an explosion of space. The Big Bang did not happen at a single point inside a room. The Big Bang was the room itself appearing and stretching. Before that moment, there was no outside, no void, no empty space waiting to be filled. Space and time were created in the expansion. This means that the Big Bang happened everywhere at once. The point where you are sitting right now, the space occupied by the tip of your nose, the empty vacuum between the Earth and the Moon, and the center of the most distant galaxy. All of these locations were overlapping, crushed together into a single singularity at the beginning of time. Every point in the universe is the site of the explosion. Every observer on every planet in every galaxy looks out and sees the universe expanding away from them. We are all at the center of our own observable sphere, trapped in a grand illusion of centrality. This realization that there is no spatial center can feel unmooring. It feels like being lost at sea with no horizon and no compass. If everywhere is the center, then nowhere is. If the black hole isn't orbiting a specific point of origin, is it just drifting aimlessly in a universe that has no preferred direction? For decades, this was the standard model of cosmology. The cosmological principle states that on large scales, the universe is homogeneous and isotropic, meaning it looks the same in every direction and has no special places. No center, no edge, no axis. Just a uniform, expanding foam of galaxies. It suggests that our motion is random, a chaotic byproduct of local gravity, with no grander design. But recently, the silence of the cosmos has whispered a contradiction. As our telescopes have peeled back the layers of light, looking past the stars, past the galaxies, past the quasars, all the way to the edge of the visible universe, we have found a ghost. We have found a pattern that shouldn't be there. We have found the cosmic microwave background, CMB. This is the oldest light in the universe, the afterglow of the Big Bang itself, released when the cosmos was just 380,000 years old. It is a wall of fire that has cooled over 13.8 billion years into a faint hum of microwaves, invisible to our eyes but detectable by satellites like NASA's WMAP and ESA's Planck. To the casual glance, this afterglow looks uniform, a perfect, smooth temperature of 2.7 Kelvin everywhere you look. But when scientists turned up the contrast, mapping the tiny fluctuations in temperature, differences of less than a millionth of a degree, they saw ripples. These ripples are the seeds of galaxies. the density waves that eventually grew into Laniakea and the Milky Way. They are the fingerprints of creation. And hidden within these fingerprints, noticed by researchers in the early 2000s, was something strange. A faint alignment, a preferred direction. The ripples in the cosmic microwave background are not scattered randomly like static on a television screen. They seem to be organized. They align along a specific plane. The cold spots and hot spots of the early universe map onto a distinct axis that stretches across the entire sky. Astronomers, with a mix of scientific skepticism and nervous humor, named it the axis of evil. Not because it is malevolent, but because it is a nuisance to our clean, symmetrical theories. It threatens the cosmological principle. It suggests that the universe has an up and a down. It suggests that the entire cosmos, from the moment of its birth, had a spin. If the axis of evil is real, and data from the Planck mission continues to hint that it might be, it implies something profound about the black hole's orbit. It implies that the universe itself has angular momentum. Just as the Earth spins on its axis, and the Sun spins on its axis, and the galaxy spins on its axis, perhaps the universe itself is spinning. The first spin. A rotation that started at the very instant of the Big Bang, a twist in the fabric of space-time that has never stopped. Imagine the implications. If the universe is rotating, then absolute stillness is truly impossible. Even if you could escape the galaxy, escape the pull of Laniakea, and float in the deepest void, you would still be turning. The space around you would be slowly rotating, carrying you on a carousel the size of existence. The Coriolis forces of this universal spin would be incredibly subtle, too weak to feel on a human scale, but over billions of years, they would shape the growth of galaxies. They would bias the rotation of spiral galaxies, making them more likely to spin one way than the other. A phenomenon that some astronomers, analyzing hundreds of thousands of galaxies, claim to have already detected. So, let us return to our question. What does the black hole orbit? If this theory holds, the answer expands to the ultimate limit. Sagittarius A odds and the Milky Way around it are not just falling through a static void. We are spiraling. We are orbiting the axis of the universe itself. We are caught in a current that was set in motion before the first atom had even formed. The angular momentum of our black hole, that 230 million year rotation around the galaxy, is just a fractal echo of a much larger turn. We are wheels within wheels within wheels, and the largest wheel is the cosmos itself. This idea connects us to a sense of ancient memory. In physics, angular momentum is a conserved quantity. It cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred. When an ice skater pulls her arms in, she spins faster, but she doesn't create the spin. She concentrates it. The spin of the Earth, the spin of the Sun, the spin of the black hole, all of it is inherited. It is handed down from the collapse of the gas cloud that formed the solar system, which inherited it from the rotation of the galaxy, which inherited it from the filament of the cosmic web. If we trace this inheritance all the way back, we arrive at the first moment. The spin of the electron in your heart is a direct descendant of the initial motion of the Big Bang. You are not just made of star stuff. You are moving with the momentum of the creation event. There is a deep meditative beauty in this connection. It means that the motion we feel, the day, the year, the galactic orbit, is not a separation from the beginning, but a continuation of it. We are not lost debris flying away from an explosion. We are the unfolding of a single, continuous gesture. A pirouette that began 13.8 billion years ago and hasn't finished yet. The black hole is a heavy bead sliding along a string that is vibrating with the music of the spheres. However, the axis of evil remains a controversial whisper. Some scientists argue it is a statistical fluke, a trick of the light, caused by the way we scan the sky or the interference of our own solar system's dust. They cling to the safety of the uniform universe, where there is no center and no axis. And perhaps they are right. Perhaps the universe is simple. But looking at the history of discovery, from the Earth orbiting the Sun to the Sun orbiting the black hole, the pattern has always been toward more structure, more motion, and more complexity. It would be just like the universe to hide one last, great rotation behind the curtain of the oldest light. As we ponder this, the Great Attractor and Laniakea begin to look less like final destinations and more like local weather patterns. They are the storms we are passing through. But the orbit of the universe itself, that is the climate. That is the fundamental condition of our reality. It suggests that time itself might be cyclic or at least spiraled. We are not moving in a straight line into the dark. We are turning. We are revisiting the geometry of the past, but on a different level of the spiral. So tonight, as you lie in the stillness that is not stillness, try to feel the hierarchy of the spins. Feel the Earth turning every 24 hours. Feel the Earth circling the Sun every year. Feel the Sun circling the black hole every 230 million years. Feel the galaxy falling through Laniakea over billions of years. And then try to sense the faintest, deepest motion of them all, the slow, majestic rotation of the entire universe around a center that exists nowhere and everywhere. You are being cradled by momentum. You are being held by a balance that has never faltered. The vertigo you might feel is simply your mind trying to grasp the scale of your own journey. Do not be afraid of the speed. Be in awe of the precision. For in a universe where everything is spinning, the only true anchor is the balance itself. But there is one final layer to this mystery. One last place where the question, what does the black hole orbit, leads us. If the universe is everything there is, and it is spinning, what is it spinning in? Does the universe have an outside? Is our bubble of space-time floating in a grander ocean, a multiverse where other universes drift like bubbles in foam? And could the gravity of a neighboring universe be the ultimate attractor, the ghost that pulls on the whole of our reality? In the next chapter, we will breach the hull of the universe. We will look at the concept of dark flow, a mysterious movement of galaxy clusters that seems to be heading toward a point outside the visible universe. We will ask if our black hole is being tugged by a force that doesn't even belong to our dimension. The map is about to run off the edge of the paper. We are leaving the known world behind. Take a slow breath. The air in your lungs is spinning atoms. The thoughts in your brain are moving ions. You are a microcosm of the dance. The first turn is still happening, right here, right now. The memory of the beginning is written in the sky. And we are reading it with every orbit we make. Chapter 7. The Pull from Beyond the Edge. We have travelled a distance in our minds that defies the very limits of human comprehension. We have moved from the solid ground beneath our feet to the spinning earth, to the racing sun, to the sleeping giant of Sagittarius AU, and outward into the flowing rivers of the Laniakea supercluster. We have seen that our home is not a fixed point, but a vessel caught in a series of ever-expanding currents, each one faster and more terrifyingly vast than the last. But as we drift in the immeasurable heaven, sensing the tug of the great attractor and the push of the dipole repeller, we eventually run up against a wall. It is not a wall of brick or stone, nor is it a wall of energy. It is a wall of time. When astronomers look out into the universe, they are looking back in time. The light from the moon takes 1 second to reach us. The light from the sun takes 8 minutes. The light from Andromeda takes 2.5 million years. And the light from the edge of the observable universe takes 13.8 billion years. This means there is a horizon beyond which we cannot see. The universe is likely infinite, or at least vastly larger than the bubble we occupy. But the light from those distant regions has not yet had time to reach us since the Big Bang. We are trapped in a sphere of visibility, a cosmic horizon that defines the boundaries of our known world. For a long time, we assumed that what lay beyond this horizon was simply more of the same. More galaxies, more stars, more empty space, extending forever in a uniform foam. We assumed that because we couldn't see it, it couldn't affect us. We assumed that gravity, limited by the speed of light, could not reach across that divide. But the black hole at the center of our galaxy knows something we don't. It feels something we cannot see. In 2008, a team of researchers led by astrophysicist Alexander Kashlinsky stumbled upon a mystery that shook the foundations of cosmology. They were studying the motion of galaxy clusters, massive swarms of galaxies like our Virgo cluster, moving through the bath of the cosmic microwave background. They expected to see random motions, the chaotic jostling of gravity fighting expansion. Instead, they found a river. They found hundreds of galaxy clusters containing millions of galaxies, all streaming in the same direction at a staggering speed of over 2 million miles per hour. This motion was distinct from the flow of Laniakea. It was distinct from the expansion of the universe. It was a coherent, massive migration toward a specific patch of sky between the constellations of Centaurus and Vela. They called it the dark flow. The most chilling part of the discovery was not the speed, but the destination. The clusters were moving towards the edge of the map. They were streaming toward a point on the cosmic horizon, and seemingly towards something beyond it. Whatever is pulling them, whatever colossal concentration of mass or energy is creating this current, lies outside our observable universe. We are being tugged by a ghost. We are orbiting a monster that we will never see, because its light will never reach us. The black hole Sagittarius A, and the entire Milky Way along with it, is bobbing like a cork in a stream that flows off the edge of the world. This realization forces us to confront a terrifying possibility, that our universe is not a closed system. We are not an island. We might be part of a much larger structure that extends infinitely beyond the horizon. Some theoretical physicists have proposed that this dark flow is evidence of a multiverse. They suggest that our bubble of space-time, our universe, is bumping up against another bubble, a neighboring universe with its own matter, its own gravity, perhaps even its own physical laws. The pull we feel, the current that drags our black hole through the dark, could be the gravity of that other universe leaking through the skin of our own. Imagine the scale of it. We started this story asking if the Earth orbits the Sun. Now we are asking if our universe orbits another universe. We are peeling back the layers of reality only to find that the onion may be infinite. The great attractor that seemed so huge a few chapters ago is now just a local pothole in a road that stretches into dimensions we cannot conceive. The black hole, the anchor of our galaxy, is nothing more than a speck of dust caught in the winds between universes. This idea of the unobservable universe brings a deep, contemplative silence to our journey. It reminds us of the limits of science. We are used to thinking that if we just build a bigger telescope, if we just launch a smarter satellite, we will see everything. But the laws of physics, the speed of light and the age of the universe impose a hard limit. There are things we will never know. There are forces we will never map. There are sirens calling to us from the dark that we will never meet. We are being influenced by the unknown, guided by the invisible, pulled by the unreachable. And yet, there is a strange comfort in this limit. It means the mystery is inexhaustible. It means the story never truly ends. If we knew everything, if we had mapped every inch of the cosmos, the magic would fade. But to know that we are drifting toward a horizon that hides giants, that keeps the wonder alive, it makes the black hole's journey feel like a pilgrimage toward the divine unknown. We are not just spinning in circles, we are crossing a threshold. But this external pull, this dark flow, is only half of the mystery. If we are being dragged at millions of miles per hour by monsters beyond the horizon, and if the universe is expanding and stretching due to dark energy, why haven't we been torn apart? Why does the galaxy stay intact? Why does the solar system hold together? Why do you not fly off the surface of the Earth? The answer lies in the fact that the universe has a glue, a hidden hand that fights against the chaos of motion and expansion. We have spoken of the black hole as the anchor, but the black hole is too small to do it alone. As we learned in the analysis of our galaxy's rotation, the visible matter, the stars, the gas, the dust, is not enough to hold the Milky Way together. If gravity were only generated by what we can see, our galaxy would have shredded itself billions of years ago. The stars on the edge would have been flung into the void like water from a spinning tire. Something else is there, something that outweighs the stars 5-1, something that provides the gravitational shell that protects us from the rip of the dark flow and the stretch of dark energy. We call it dark matter. If dark energy is the wind that tries to blow the house down, dark matter is the mortar that holds the bricks together. It is the silent guardian of structure. It surrounds our galaxy in a vast, invisible halo, extending far beyond the glowing spiral arms. It is a ghost of a different kind, not a ghost that pulls us away, but a ghost that holds us close. It is the reason the black hole has a galaxy to rule. Without dark matter, Sagittarius A Sur would be a lonely wanderer in the dark, stripped of its stars, orbiting nothing but the void. So, the picture of our orbit becomes a complex balance of forces. Externally, we are being pulled by the great attractor and the dark flow, rushing toward the edge of the universe. Internally, we are being held together by the grip of dark matter, locked in a protective embrace that resists the speed. Universally, we are being stretched by the breath of dark energy, expanding into the cold. The black hole sits at the center of this tension. It is the visible king of the galaxy, but it sits on a throne made of invisible matter, riding a chariot pulled by invisible horses toward an invisible destination. It is a precarious, beautiful balance, a harmony of shadows. As we move to the next chapter of our story, we must look closer at this dark glue. We must understand the invisible scaffolding that allows the universe to exist at all. Because if dark matter were just a little weaker or a little stronger, none of this would be here. The Earth would not have formed. The sun would not have ignited. And the black hole would have nothing to orbit. We are going to dive into the halo. We are going to look at the shadows that bind us. And we are going to ask, if we are made of star stuff, what is the dark matter made of? And are we passing through it right now, unaware of the ghosts passing through our own bodies? The river flows off the edge of the map. The current is strong, but the boat is sturdy, held together by the strongest glue in the cosmos. Take a slow breath. You are safe. The gravity that holds you is real, even if the source is hidden. You are part of the mystery that keeps itself whole. Let us turn our eyes from the horizon back to the shield that protects us. The journey continues inward into the invisible embrace. Chapter 7. The Pull from Beyond the Edge. We have travelled a distance in our minds that defies the very limits of human comprehension. We have moved from the solid ground beneath our feet to the spinning earth, to the racing sun, to the sleeping giant of Sagittarius A, and outward into the flowing rivers of the Laniakea supercluster. We have seen that our home is not a fixed point, but a vessel caught in a series of ever-expanding currents, each one faster and more terrifyingly vast than the last. But as we drift in the immeasurable heaven, sensing the tug of the great attractor and the push of the dipole repeller, we eventually run up against a wall. It is not a wall of brick or stone, nor is it a wall of energy. It is a wall of time. When astronomers look out into the universe, they are looking back in time. The light from the moon takes 1 second to reach us. The light from the sun takes 8 minutes. The light from Andromeda takes 2.5 million years. And the light from the edge of the observable universe takes 13.8 billion years. This means there is a horizon beyond which we cannot see. The universe is likely infinite, or at least vastly larger than the bubble we occupy, but the light from those distant regions has not yet had time to reach us since the Big Bang. We are trapped in a sphere of visibility, a cosmic horizon that defines the boundaries of our known world. For a long time, we assumed that what lay beyond this horizon was simply more of the same. More galaxies, more stars, more empty space, extending forever in a uniform foam. We assumed that because we couldn't see it, it couldn't affect us. We assumed that gravity, limited by the speed of light, could not reach across that divide. But the black hole at the center of our galaxy knows something we don't. It feels something we cannot see. In 2008, a team of researchers led by astrophysicist Alexander Kashlinsky stumbled upon a mystery that shook the foundations of cosmology. They were studying the motion of galaxy clusters, massive swarms of galaxies like our Virgo cluster, moving through the bath of the cosmic microwave background. They expected to see random motions, the chaotic jostling of gravity-fighting expansion. Instead, they found a river. They found hundreds of galaxy clusters containing millions of galaxies, all streaming in the same direction at a staggering speed of over 2 million miles per hour. This motion was distinct from the flow of Laniakea. It was distinct from the expansion of the universe. It was a coherent, massive migration toward a specific patch of sky between the constellations of Centaurus and Vela. They called it the dark flow. The most chilling part of the discovery was not the speed, but the destination. The clusters were moving toward the edge of the map. They were streaming toward a point on the cosmic horizon and seemingly toward something beyond it. Whatever is pulling them, whatever colossal concentration of mass or energy is creating this current, lies outside our observable universe. We are being tugged by a ghost. We are orbiting a monster that we will never see, because its light will never reach us. The black hole Sagittarius A, and the entire Milky Way along with it, is bobbing like a cork in a stream that flows off the edge of the world. This realization forces us to confront a terrifying possibility, that our universe is not a closed system. We are not an island. We might be part of a much larger structure that extends infinitely beyond the horizon. Some theoretical physicists have proposed that this dark flow is evidence of a multiverse. They suggest that our bubble of space-time, our universe, is bumping up against another bubble, a neighboring universe with its own matter, its own gravity, perhaps even its own physical laws. The pull we feel, the current that drags our black hole through the dark, could be the gravity of that other universe leaking through the skin of our own. Imagine the scale of it. We started this story asking if the Earth orbits the Sun. Now we are asking if our universe orbits another universe. We are peeling back the layers of reality only to find that the onion may be infinite. The great attractor that seemed so huge a few chapters ago is now just a local pothole in a road that stretches into dimensions we cannot conceive. The black hole, the anchor of our galaxy, is nothing more than a speck of dust caught in the winds between universes. This idea of the unobservable universe brings a deep, contemplative silence to our journey. It reminds us of the limits of science. We are used to thinking that if we just build a bigger telescope, if we just launch a smarter satellite, we will see everything. But the laws of physics, the speed of light, and the age of the universe impose a hard limit. There are things we will never know. There are forces we will never map. There are sirens calling to us from the dark that we will never meet. We are being influenced by the unknown, guided by the invisible, pulled by the unreachable. And yet, there is a strange comfort in this limit. It means the mystery is inexhaustible. It means the story never truly ends. If we knew everything, if we had mapped every inch of the cosmos, the magic would fade. But to know that we are drifting toward a horizon that hides giants, that keeps the wonder alive. It makes the black hole's journey feel like a pilgrimage toward the divine unknown. We are not just spinning in circles, we are crossing a threshold. But this external pull, this dark flow, is only half of the mystery. If we are being dragged at millions of miles per hour by monsters beyond the horizon, and if the universe is expanding and stretching due to dark energy, why haven't we been torn apart? Why does the galaxy stay intact? Why does the solar system hold together? Why do you not fly off the surface of the Earth? The answer lies in the fact that the universe has a glue, a hidden hand that fights against the chaos of motion and expansion. We have spoken of the black hole as the anchor, but the black hole is too small to do it alone. As we learned in the analysis of our galaxy's rotation, the visible matter, the stars, the gas, the dust, is not enough to hold the Milky Way together. If gravity were only generated by what we can see, our galaxy would have shredded itself billions of years ago. The stars on the edge would have been flung into the void like water from a spinning tire. Something else is there, something that outweighs the stars 5-1. Something that provides the gravitational shell that protects us from the rip of the dark flow and the stretch of dark energy. We call it dark matter. If dark energy is the wind that tries to blow the house down, dark matter is the mortar that holds the bricks together. It is the silent guardian of structure. It surrounds our galaxy in a vast, invisible halo, extending far beyond the glowing spiral arms. It is a ghost of a different kind, not a ghost that pulls us away, but a ghost that holds us close. It is the reason the black hole has a galaxy to rule. Without dark matter, Sagittarius A would be a lonely wanderer in the dark, stripped of its stars, orbiting nothing but the void. So, the picture of our orbit becomes a complex balance of forces. Externally, we are being pulled by the great attractor and the dark flow, rushing toward the edge of the universe. Internally, we are being held together by the grip of dark matter, locked in a protective embrace that resists the speed. Universally, we are being stretched by the breath of dark energy, expanding into the cold. The black hole sits at the center of this tension. It is the visible king of the galaxy, but it sits on a throne made of invisible matter, riding a chariot pulled by invisible horses towards an invisible destination. It is a precarious, beautiful balance, a harmony of shadows. As we move to the next chapter of our story, we must look closer at this dark glue. We must understand the invisible scaffolding that allows the universe to exist at all. Because if dark matter were just a little weaker or a little stronger, none of this would be here. The Earth would not have formed. The sun would not have ignited. And the black hole would have nothing to orbit. We are going to dive into the halo. We are going to look at the shadows that bind us. And we are going to ask, if we are made of star stuff, what is the dark matter made of? And are we passing through it right now, unaware of the ghosts passing through our own bodies? The river flows off the edge of the map. The current is strong, but the boat is sturdy, held together by the strongest glue in the cosmos. Take a slow breath. You are safe. The gravity that holds you is real, even if the source is hidden. You are part of the mystery that keeps itself whole. Let us turn our eyes from the horizon back to the shield that protects us. The journey continues inward, into the invisible embrace. Chapter 9. The Neural Architecture of Eternity. If you were to take a single neuron from the human brain, a microscopic cell with a central body and branching tendrils called dendrites and axons, and place it under a powerful microscope, you would see a structure of delicate complexity. It looks like a starburst, a central light radiating outward into a web of connections, reaching out to touch thousands of other cells in a vast electrochemical network. It is the architecture of thought, the physical shape of memory and consciousness. Now, if you were to leave the microscope behind and travel to the supercomputers at the Max Planck Institute for Astrophysics, where scientists run the most detailed simulations of the universe ever created, you would see something that would make your heart skip a beat. When they simulate the growth of the cosmos over 13.8 billion years, tracking the invisible scaffolding of dark matter as it collapses under gravity, the resulting image is not a random scattering of dust. It is a web. It is a vast, glowing lattice of filaments connecting bright knots of galaxies, with dark voids in between. And if you place the image of the neuron beside the image of the universe, it becomes almost impossible to tell them apart. This haunting similarity is one of the most profound visual rhymes in nature. It suggests that the orbit of our black hole, Sagittarius A-B, is not just a path through space, it is a movement along a thread in a structure that resembles a mind. Astronomers call this structure the cosmic web. It is the largest pattern in nature, a network of dark matter highways that span billions of light years. In this web, galaxies are not isolated islands, they are pearls strung along the filaments, flowing toward the massive clusters that sit at the intersections. These clusters, like the Virgo cluster and the heart of Laniakea, act as the nodes of the network, the heavy, dense junctions where the traffic of the universe meets. Our black hole is a traveler on one of these filaments, a tiny signal moving toward a synapse. For years, this resemblance between the brain and the universe was treated as a poetic coincidence, a trick of the eye. But in 2020, an astrophysicist named Franco Varza and a neurosurgeon named Alberto Feletti decided to test the comparison with the rigor of mathematics. They analyzed the network of neuronal cells in the human cerebellum and compared it to the network of galaxies in the cosmic web. They looked at the connectivity, the clustering, and the ratio of mass to energy. What they found was startling. Despite the difference in scale, one system is 27 orders of magnitude larger than the other. The physical organization is nearly identical. Both systems are roughly 30% mass, galaxies or neurons, and 70% passive energy, dark energy or water fluids. Both systems arrange themselves into nodes and filaments to maximize connection while minimizing energy use. The universe, it seems, has optimized itself. It has evolved the most efficient shape possible for transmitting something. In the brain, the filaments transmit electrochemical signals, thoughts, sensations, dreams. In the universe, the filaments transmit gravity and matter. They guide the flow of gas that feeds the galaxies. They steer the drift of black holes. They direct the light of quasars. So, when we ask, what does the black hole orbit? We can now answer with a new metaphor. The black hole is moving along a neural pathway. It is sliding down a dendrite of gravity toward the cell body of the local supercluster. We are part of a pulse. The motion of the Milky Way through the Laniakea supercluster is not chaotic. It is the flow of information in a system so vast that a single thought takes billions of years to complete. This idea changes the texture of the silence we feel at night. When you look up, you are not looking into a void. You are looking into the connective tissue of a giant. The voids, the immense empty spaces like the dipole repeller, are not just nothingness. In the brain, the spaces between neurons are filled with fluid that supports and nourishes the network. In the cosmos, the voids are dominated by dark energy, the expanding breath that keeps the web stretched taut. Without the voids, the web would collapse into a single, dense knot. Without the filaments, the universe would scatter into dust. It is the balance between the two, the tension between the empty and the full, that allows the structure to exist. Our black hole, Sagittarius A, sits at the center of a galaxy that is essentially a data packet. We carry the heavy elements, the carbon, the oxygen, the iron, the biology, and the consciousness. We are carrying the complexity, and we are delivering it to the Virgo cluster. We are slowly, inevitably merging with the greater structure. If you were to watch a time lapse of the universe spanning eons, you would see the galaxies flowing along the dark filaments like beads of light, draining into the clusters, making them brighter, denser, and more complex. The universe is learning. It is gathering its resources. It is concentrating its mass. But does this mean the universe is alive? Is it conscious? This is a question that teeters on the edge of science and philosophy. Panpsychism, an ancient philosophical view, suggests that consciousness is a fundamental property of matter, present in everything from atoms to stars. While modern physics does not go that far, the connectomy study by Vaza and Folletti forces us to admit that the complexity of the universe rivals the complexity of the human mind. The number of galaxies in the observable universe is roughly comparable to the number of neurons in the brain. The number of connections, the gravitational links, is staggering. If the geometry of thought requires a network, then the universe has the geometry. It has the hardware. Whether it has the software is a mystery we may never solve. But let us bring this back to the orbit. Let us bring it back to you, the observer. If the universe is a web, then motion is connection. To stop moving is to be cut off. To orbit is to belong. The gravity that pulls us toward the great attractor is the force that binds the system together. It ensures that no galaxy is left behind in the cold voids. It ensures that even as the universe expands, the islands of light remain linked. The black hole is the anchor that keeps us attached to the web. It holds the rope. It ensures that we remain part of the conversation. There is a deep comfort in this structural unity. We often feel small and insignificant when faced with the size of the cosmos. We feel like dust. But in a network, size does not determine importance. A single neuron can trigger a memory. A single synapse can bridge a thought. We are a small node, yes, but we are a connected node. We are woven into the fabric of the whole. The iron in your blood was forged in stars that were born from the gas of the filaments. The gravity that holds you to the Earth is the same gravity that shapes the superclusters. You are not in the universe. You are of the universe. You are a piece of the web that has opened its eyes. And here lies the most beautiful recursive loop of all. The universe has built a structure, the cosmic web, that is capable of evolving complex life. That life has evolved a structure, the brain, that mirrors the universe. And now that brain is looking up through telescopes, mapping the web and recognizing its own reflection. The universe is using the neural network of your brain to think about the neural network of itself. The loop is closed. The connection is complete. So tonight, when you close your eyes, visualize the web. See the darkness not as emptiness, but as structure. See the invisible filaments of dark matter stretching across the sky, connecting the Milky Way to Andromeda, connecting the local group to Virgo, connecting Laniakea to the rest of the immeasurable heaven. See the black hole, our silent captain, guiding us along one of these glowing threads. We are sliding through the synapse of eternity. We are a signal in the dark. And as we drift along this filament, we approach the final question, the ultimate question. We have asked what the Earth orbits, what the Sun orbits, what the black hole orbits, and what the galaxy orbits. We have traced the chain of command all the way to the structure of the universe itself. But if the universe is a body, if it is a web, if it is a mind, what are we? Why are we here to witness it? Are we merely accidental passengers on a rock circling a black hole? Or is our ability to ask the question part of the orbit itself? In the final chapter, we will turn the telescope around. We will look at the observer. We will ask if the universe requires an audience to exist. We will explore the anthropic principle, the idea that the universe is fine-tuned for life. And we will find that the black hole, the galaxy, and the web are all performing a dance for you. You are the destination of the light. You are the stillness at the center of the motion. Take a slow breath. Feel the network of your own mind. Feel the network of the stars. They are the same pattern, separated only by scale. You are the universe remembering its own shape. The web waits. The signal travels. And the story comes home. Chapter 10. The Witness in the Dark. We have reached the end of our journey, or perhaps we have simply arrived at the only place where the journey can truly be understood. We have travelled in our minds from the quiet of your room to the edge of the observable universe. We have watched the Earth spin, the sun race, and the black hole fall. We have traced the invisible filaments of the cosmic web and peered into the terrifying depths of the dark flow. We have asked the question, what does the black hole orbit? And found that the answer is a hierarchy of giants, a ladder of gravity that climbs higher and higher into the dark. But now, as we stand on the precipice of the unknown, looking out at the expanding horizon where galaxies fade into silence, we must turn the telescope around. We must look at the one thing in the universe that is even more complex, more mysterious, and more improbable than a supermassive black hole. We must look at you. For in all this vastness, in all this terrifying scale of superclusters and voids, there is a haunting silence. The stars do not speak. The black holes do not wonder. The dark matter does not ask questions. The universe spins in a majestic mathematical silence. It follows the laws of physics with absolute precision, but it does so without awareness, until it reaches a planet like ours, until it creates an eye that can look up, until it forges a mind that can ask why. You are not just a spectator in this story. You are the point of it. You are the moment when the universe wakes up and realizes it is spinning. Consider the sheer improbability of your existence. For you to be sitting here tonight, able to hear these words, a chain of events had to occur with absolute perfection over 13.8 billion years. If the Big Bang had been slightly more violent, matter would have scattered too fast for gravity to catch it, and no stars would have formed. If it had been slightly less violent, the universe would have collapsed back into a singularity almost immediately. If the force of gravity were slightly stronger, stars would burn out in millions of years instead of billions, leaving no time for evolution. If it were slightly weaker, matter would never have clumped into galaxies at all. We live in a Goldilocks universe, a reality where the fundamental constants of nature, the strength of gravity, the weight of the electron, the density of dark energy, are tuned to an exquisite precision to allow for life. And this fine-tuning extends to our black hole, Sagittarius Aod. We often think of black holes as monsters, as destroyers of worlds. But in truth, our black hole is a gardener. Its gravity and the dark matter halo that surrounds it stabilizes the Milky Way. It holds the galaxy together against the expansion of the universe. It creates the galactic habitable zone, a specific ring within the galaxy, far enough from the violent radiation of the core, but close enough to have the heavy elements needed for planets. We exist because our black hole is the right size, in the right place, and surprisingly quiet. If Sagittarius A were active, blasting jets of X-rays into the spiral arms, we would not be here. It sleeps so that we can wake. Its orbit, its mass, its silence, all of it is part of the architecture that supports your life. This leads us to a profound idea known as the anthropic principle. It suggests that the universe is the way it is because if it were any different, there would be no one here to notice it. It implies that the observer and the observed are linked. We are not foreign contaminants in the cosmos. We are the inevitable result of its cooling. When a star dies and explodes, it scatters carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen into the void. Over billions of years, gravity gathers that dust into new worlds, and eventually into biology. The iron in your blood was forged in the heart of a dying giant. The calcium in your bones was baked in a supernova. You are quite literally a way for the universe to know itself. As the astrophysicist Carl Sagan famously said, we are made of star stuff. But we are also made of the star's motion. We are made of the orbit. So when we ask, what does the black hole orbit, we can offer a final, poetic answer. In a physical sense, it orbits the center of mass of the local group, falling toward Virgo and Laniakea. But in a philosophical sense, it orbits you. The entire machinery of the cosmos, the gravity, the fusion, the spin, the expansion, conspires to create a pocket of stability where a consciousness can exist. The universe works tirelessly for billions of years, moving galaxies, merging clusters, balancing energies just to produce a single moment of awareness, a moment where a collection of atoms can look up at the night sky and feel awe. This perspective shifts the feeling of the journey from vertigo to belonging. You are not small. You are not insignificant. You are the destination of the light. The photon that left Andromeda 2 million years ago has been traveling across the empty intergalactic dark, dodging dust clouds, surviving the expansion of space, just to end its journey on your retina. You are the place where the light lands. You are the witness. Without you, the universe is just a game of billiards played in the dark. With you, it is a story. And this story is not over. The universe is still evolving, and so are we. We are beginning to leave our cradle. We have sent probes into the interstellar dark. We have landed robots on Mars. We have built telescopes like the James Webb that can see back to the dawn of time. We are the universe's way of exploring itself. We are the eyes of the black hole, looking back at its own creation. We are the memory of the galaxy, recording the history that would otherwise be lost to entropy. There is a peace in this responsibility. It means that your life, your curiosity, your wonder matters. It matters to the cosmos. When you take the time to learn about the stars, you are fulfilling a cosmic purpose. You are adding to the universe's self-knowledge. You are the universe remembering its own motion. So tonight, as you drift towards sleep, let the feeling of the orbit comfort you. Feel the earth holding you. Feel the sun holding the earth. Feel the black hole holding the sun. Feel the dark matter holding the black hole. And feel the mystery holding it all. You are safe. You are held. You are moving. The black hole Sagittarius A will continue its long, silent fall toward the great attractor for billions of years. It will merge with Andromeda. It will witness the death of stars and the birth of new ones. It will endure long after our sun has turned into a crystal of cooling carbon. But for this brief, beautiful moment in eternity, it shares the galaxy with you. It anchors the sky so that you can dream. And perhaps, in the far future, when consciousness has spread to the stars, when we have learned to navigate the currents of the cosmic web, we will look back at this time as the beginning. The time when we first realized that we were not standing still. The time when we realized that to exist is to dance. The question, what does the black hole orbit, has no single answer because the universe has no single bottom. It is orbits all the way down. It is a dance with no floor. But you are the music. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Thank you for stepping off the solid ground and floating in the immeasurable heaven. Thank you for being a curious, gentle part of this vast, spinning mystery. If this story has brought you a moment of peace or a moment of wonder, please leave a quiet mark of your presence. A like, a subscription, a comment. These are small signals in the dark, but they tell me that I am not speaking to the void. They tell me that the web is connected. They tell me that the universe is listening. Sleep well, traveler. The stars are watching over you. The black hole is keeping the watch. And the orbit continues silent and eternal, carrying us all toward the morning. Good night.